This morning, the Florida legislature launched its 2023 session with Governor Ron DeSantis' State of the State address. The governor rattled off his legislative accomplishments in the past year, preventing life-saving vaccine mandates, shipping unknowing asylum seekers across the country, and giving parents the right to help the state restrict teaching on race, gender, sexual orientation, and history. A highlight reel, if you will. The governor ended with the promise of more. Today, the State House and Senate, each with Republican supermajorities, promptly got to work on the governor's new legislative agenda, like a 6-week abortion ban, which was introduced this morning. It would ban the procedure before many people even know they're pregnant. It is far from the only item on this session's Republican legislative agenda. There is a gun bill that would allow most Floridians to carry a concealed firearm, no permit needed. A bill that would allow a judge to hand down a death sentence without a unanimous jury. And a bill that would lower the bar to sue media organizations for defamation. While we're not sure if everything the legislature is working on will get the governor's signature, it's undeniable that the war on woke really is just getting started. The House today put forward a bill that would block the removal of Confederate monuments. If the governor signs that one, it will take effect in July. The legislature is also taking up a bevy of education bills, including an expansion of the so-called Don't Say Gay law. It would prohibit discussions of gender and sexual orientation through 8th grade. And a bill that outlaws college spending on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, and erodes faculty tenure, and eliminates majors and minors in subjects that are considered too woke. That last bill is one of the many DeSantis-initiated changes that has made professors at New College in Sarasota extremely worried. Last week, I visited the public liberal arts school, again in Sarasota, to speak to faculty about the way Governor DeSantis has been targeting their workplace, using New College as a sort of trial run in his efforts to overhaul American education. What's the climate among the faculty? Are you guys worried for your jobs?
The faculty are trying to do what we can to navigate this, right? So we have some protections, and thankfully we have a faculty union, we have a collective bargaining agreement. Not all faculty members have the same amount of protections,
right.
But we are, true to being professionals and trying to navigate the change in the best way that we can navigate the change.
Well, it's definitely been, stressful. It was, I think, a surprise, at least to me, and just the speed with which everything has proceeded over the last month and a half has been a little bit shocking. And we're just in a moment of a lot of uncertainty. I think there's a really wide range of possible outcomes for the college in the next couple of years, and it's just really not clear which outcome we're going to end up at. I'm optimistic that this can be a place that preserves the essence of what I love about the college. And in that case, I want to stay here, and I want to be here for my students.
The truth of the matter is it might not be up to me whether or not I stay or not. So what I'm doing is continuing to teach, being mindful of the law, of course, right?
To have a teacher at a college say, when I'm teaching, I'm mindful of the law. I'm not saying teachers are above the law, but I think the idea that there's a concern now in classrooms that you have to worry about the law and that what you say may be, used against you or the students or in some way the college.
That's very real.
Feels
right?
like a very new America.
That is very real because we have different bills that have been passed in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
But absolutely, right? There's a way in which there's an intrusion into the classroom in a way that we haven't seen before.
People are taking books off their syllabuses.
People are taking books off their syllabi. People are shutting down programs. People are not teaching certain classes.
Do you think you're going to be able to teach in the way that you have been?
I will, time tells, right? Time will tell.
The Florida legislature recently introduced a bill that, among other things, would officially end degrees in gender studies in the state of Florida. It'll dictate university curricula. It will take the hiring of faculty out of faculty hands, and it will give governing boards the power to review the tenure status of college faculty at any moment in which they please. What are the implications of that legislation passing?
When you put the curriculum in the hands of politicians and political appointees, I think you're in trouble. And I think you weaken a system, and again, it's in a marketplace of other systems. And so faculty will go elsewhere. I think that's what it portends for the state system, and I'm worried for the system as a whole.
It'll starve the state of teaching talent.
Yeah, I'm worried about brain drain from Florida.
We'll have even more from my reporting trip to Florida's New College in the coming days.